is your problem, man? Do you know how to fucking drive? No. What? No, I don't know how to fucking drive. I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared. What are you talking about, you psycho?
Hello, everyone. It's time to have that conversation, that deep, introspecting conversation about a problem that I've noticed and you have noticed too. The national debt being driven into a rut. It is now going to reach very soon the record-breaking number of $37 trillion in debt. It doesn't even roll off the tongue naturally because it's such an astronomical number. But behind that number is something more horrific. As a CEO, there's a point in every business that is driven into the abyss of debt, and it's called the point of no return. Why? Because the debt now is so large that it is impossible with every method to pay it off. And this is what I believe is going to happen at $37 trillion in debt. It is the point of no return. Let me put it this way. Let's say you have a person that's digging. They're digging and making their problem worse. Every day they dig more and they get further, deeper into a problem. Soon, that hole is so deep that it is impossible for even help to reach. So what does that person do? Is to dig more. Why? They believe that maybe they can dig through their problem. But of course, that will never happen. The idea that the national debt has reached the point of no return with $37 trillion isn't a statement made in a vacuum. You can see with your own eyes the fiscal obesity that is playing out before them. This article from the Hoover Institute calls it the tipping point. You see, we have reached dangerous fiscal tipping point because the economy now is outpaced by debt. The debt to GDP ratio is extremely unbalanced right now. What economists don't realize and advisors don't realize is that the game has changed.
No, I don't know how to fucking drive. I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
The normal metrics for gauging and understanding the debt have morphed. Normal behavior patterns such as yield curves, job earnings, GDP, these have nothing to do with the obsession with debt. This is the main reason why this is the point of no return, because the issue is more than quantifiable. This is more psychological debt. These methods for measuring debt and understanding the reason why it's out of control do not work as they're supposed to anymore, because this is debt addiction. The system itself has developed a hyper-dependency on constant stimulation, which is the debt, to keep up the appearance of a normal working system. This is why it doesn't work. So you have to look at different numbers to understand how bad it is. And the number I look at is operational debt cost overruns and the percentage of what that means. You won't hear too much about operational debt. It's not financially pretty. Operational debt is the ongoing financial mechanism of the government to maintain operations of infrastructures such as bridges, roadways, water systems, power grids. The maintenance of these structures is the debt. It's hidden debt. This debt is silent debt that is not reported with the national debt. It is completely separate. We all know what it is. Let's say your house starts to break down. You need to fix things. You may not fix those things financially, but that damage that accumulates is debt because it needs to be fixed eventually, or guess what? Your house will break down. This is the number that is really telling because it's extremely high. The number I look at is from the American Society of Civil Engineers and their report card on the maintenance of the roads in the U.S. They came up with an astronomical number that it will cost more than $13 trillion just to bring up the roads in America to code. But let me be clear, this is a lowball base price. What I'm about to tell you and the evidence you're going to see, this number could end up being larger than the national debt itself. They say they need $13 trillion. Is that so? Well, the McKinsey report came out and said, guess what? 98% of federal projects, mega projects, go over budget. 98%. So that's pretty much a guarantee. That project of $13 trillion is going to be much, much higher. But it gets even better. It says although 98% of projects that go over budget by a large amount, they're delayed up to 20 months. You know, time is money, right? You see how that $13 trillion is becoming something even more monstrous. The down spiral continues of this deficit lunacy because we know that 98% of projects go over budget. And the McKinsey report continues this damning information by saying that of those 98% projects, they go over budget on average of 80% more than their original estimation. This is not the highs. This is the average of 80%. So that $13 trillion is now in reality $24 trillion or so. That's coming close to the national budget itself. But as I said, there's more to this. This is the point of no return for a reason. Well, here's another sobering reminder that $15 trillion is going to turn into something that's astronomical. And it comes from the Harvard Business Review, as they found out and did research and found out that 1 out of 6 projects go over budget by 200%. Remember, on average, they go over budget by 80%. For 1 out of 6 projects go over budget even more by 200%. That $24 trillion is looking far worse now, isn't it? The frightening part of this is in the details. Take, for example, if they passed an infrastructure bill, that would support over 66,000 projects or more. But here's the part that's really a sobering reminder. Remember, 1 out of 6 projects go over budget by 200%. So that means if there's 66,000 projects, 1 out of 6 of those means that's 11,000 projects that will go over budget by 200%. That's astonishing and should be frightening. Who knows how much that $15 trillion is going to balloon into something that's probably bigger than the national debt. And now it's time for the final nail in the coffin of how much this problem is out of control. And it comes from the article Vice, where they wrote how long it will take to repair just all the bridges in the US. It will take more than 80 years to bring all the bridges up to code. That's right. More than 80 years. And this doesn't include the roads. The roads will take another 50 years or more from other reports. That is incredible. And you know time is money. Under that time frame, there is no possible way that $15 trillion estimation could be controlled to something manageable with a time frame of probably close to 100 years to repair the roads and the bridges. Well, in conclusion, let me warn you, things are about to get dark, real dark, because this is the point of no return. If you didn't hear it, you wouldn't know. Not only is the national debt increasingly growing year after year, but so is the massive unseen debt of operations. Remember that $13 trillion they said they needed? Well, it's 2025. And that 13 trillion now is 15 trillion with adjustment for inflation. Remember, it takes 80 years or more to repair the roads or the bridges? Well, just to let you know, roadways start to need major repair after 10 or 15 years. And if they're not well maintained, that 10 and 15 years drops down to 5 years. So that means even if some miraculous reason they pass some sort of infrastructure bill, 10 years into their projects, the roads that they just started to repair will start to need repair once again, because that's how far backlogged they are. This is a non-win situation because the damage has been too prolonged. And this is why I said this is the point of no return. Because if you add the potential of operational debt reaching levels of 30 to 40 trillion dollars or more, along with the national debt, which will reach soon $40 trillion in a few years, you take into account that they are so backlogged in repairs that even if they start, it will take far too long to finish. The $37 trillion is just the catalyst. This is the snowball effect in action. This is how it looks when debt accumulates from neglect. And sometimes the damage is so bad, it reaches a point of no return.